Do you know that the Wright brothers weren't the first people to fly a plane? That's right. While history books credit Orville and Wilbur Wright with inventing and flying the world's first successful airplane in 1903, several compelling claims suggest otherwise. Around the world, different names pop up, some backed by strong evidence, others surrounded by controversy. So, what's the real story behind the first powered flight? In this video, we'll explore the overlooked pioneers of aviation, break down who did what, and why the Wright brothers might not have been as first as you think. Make sure you like, subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more interesting history stories. This is a flight through history you don't want to miss. The Wright brothers. Let's start with the most recognized names in aviation, the Wright brothers. Born in Dayton, Ohio, Orville and Wilbur were bicycle mechanics with an interest in engineering and flight. After years of experiments, on December 17, 1903, in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, they reportedly flew the Flyer I, a powered, controlled, and sustained flight that lasted 12 seconds, covering 120 feet. Why are they widely credited? 3 key reasons. 1. Documentation. The Wrights kept detailed logs, photos, and eyewitness accounts. 2. Controlled flight. Their aircraft could be steered and sustained in the air. 3. Ongoing improvement. They didn't just stop at one flight. They built and improved several flyers afterward. But were they truly the first? Many historians and aviation enthusiasts say no, and their arguments are fascinating. Gustav Whitehead. Now let's talk about one of the most controversial names in early aviation, Gustav Whitehead. Born in Germany and later moving to the United States, Whitehead, originally Gustav Weikopf, was an aviation pioneer who allegedly flew a powered aircraft 2 years before the Wright brothers, in 1901. According to reports, on August 14, 1901, in Bridgeport, Connecticut, Whitehead flew his aircraft, number 21, for about 800 meters, half a mile, at a height of 50 feet. This claim is mainly supported by 1. Eyewitness accounts. Several locals claimed they saw Whitehead's aircraft fly. 2. Press coverage. The Bridgeport Sunday Herald published an article with illustrations detailing the flight. 3. Aircraft design. His aircraft used a lightweight engine of his own design and had features similar to early successful flyers. However, there's a problem. No photograph of the actual flight exists. Skeptics argue that the media exaggerated the story. Eyewitnesses were unreliable or inconsistent. The aircraft lacked sufficient control mechanisms. Still, in 2013, Jane's All the World's Aircraft, a respected aviation publication, recognized Whitehead as the first person to fly a powered airplane, causing international debate. So, did Whitehead truly beat the Wrights? Or is it just a myth that refuses to die? We may never know for sure, but Whitehead's story isn't the only one that challenges the Wright brothers' legacy. In fact, many countries, especially Brazil and France, consider Santos Dumont, not the Wrights, as the true father of aviation. So, while the Wright brothers were first by date, Santos Dumont may have been first in the public eye, which for many, makes his flight more legitimate. But the mystery doesn't end here. There's still more to explore, including forgotten inventors and rival claims that keep rewriting history. Alberto Santos Dumont. Now let's shift our focus to Alberto Santos Dumont, a Brazilian aviation pioneer, who is often credited outside the United States as the first man to achieve powered flight under officially observed conditions. Unlike the Wright brothers and Gustav Whitehead, Santos Dumont flew publicly, with no secrecy, no debate, and plenty of witnesses. On October 23, 1906, in Paris, France, Santos Dumont flew his fixed-wing aircraft, the 14 bis, in front of a crowd of onlookers and officials from the Aero Club de France. His plane lifted off the ground and flew for 60 meters, 197 feet, at a height of about 2 to 3 meters, making it the first officially witnessed and certified powered flight in Europe. Here's what made Santos Dumont's achievement notable. Public demonstration. Unlike the Wrights, who kept their work private for patent reasons, Santos Dumont believed in flying in public. Independent verification. The flight was recorded and recognized by aviation authorities. Self-taught inventor, he designed and built the 14 bis himself, with no external help or military funding. Respected in Europe, in France, he was a celebrity and regarded as a true aviation pioneer. Richard Pearse. Let's head down to New Zealand, where yet another mysterious figure in aviation history emerges, Richard Pearse. Now, Pearse wasn't a trained engineer. He was a reclusive farmer and inventor, but many believe that he may have flown before the Wright brothers, possibly as early as March 31, 1903, which is over 8 months before the Wright's flight. Peirce reportedly built a monoplane aircraft powered by a homemade engine, using scrap materials like bicycle parts and tin. According to eyewitness accounts from his rural town of Waitoi, Peirce took off, flew for a short distance, perhaps 5,100 meters, and crash-landed into a hedge. But here's the twist: there was no camera, no verification, and no official recognition of his feat at the time. Let's break it down. Innovative design. His plane had features years ahead of its time, including a tricycle landing gear and ailerons. Eyewitness evidence. Several people came forward decades later, saying they saw him fly in 1903. Lack of publicity. Peirce was extremely private and didn't seek attention or fame, which might explain why his name remained obscure for so long. While some historians dismiss the claim due to the lack of hard evidence, others argue that Peirce's innovations and timing suggest he deserves a seat at the table of aviation pioneers. His story is not just about flight, it's about how brilliance can go unrecognized, especially when it comes from unexpected corners of the world. Up next, let's look at the controversy surrounding the Wright brothers' secrecy, and why their claim was doubted, even in their own time. Secrecy of the Wright brothers. Do you know that even after the Wright brothers' famous flight in 1903, many people didn't believe it happened? Why? Because for years, they kept their invention secret. After December 17, 1903, you'd expect the Wrights to showcase their achievement to the world, but they didn't. For nearly 5 years, from 1903 to 1908, they avoided public demonstrations. Their reason: they feared their design would be stolen before they secured a patent and military contracts. This secrecy led to a major problem: skepticism. No public flight footage or photos circulated at first. Newspapers questioned whether the Wrights actually flew. In Europe, they were accused of fabricating their claims. In the U.S., even government officials remained unconvinced until 1908, when the Wrights finally did a public demonstration at Fort Myer, Virginia. Meanwhile, other inventors were actively flying in front of crowds, gaining fame, while the Wrights stayed behind the curtain. And this delay opened the door for other flight pioneers like Alberto Santos Dumont and Trien Vuillet to be hailed as first in France and Brazil, respectively. This secrecy didn't just hurt their recognition, it created a lasting controversy. Some argue that because their first flights weren't widely witnessed, the credit for the first controlled flight should remain open for debate. But despite the doubts, once the Wrights publicly proved their invention, history was forced to take notice. In the next segment, we'll explore how politics, media, and nationalism shaped the narrative of who really flew first. Politics, media, and national pride. Do you know that the story of who flew first wasn't just about science? It was shaped heavily by politics, media influence, and national pride. By the early 20th century, aviation had become a symbol of national advancement. Countries were eager to claim the title of first to fly as a point of pride. The United States, seeking to cement its technological superiority, amplified the Wright brothers' story, especially after their successful military demonstrations. Meanwhile, other countries were telling their own versions. 5. Nationalism and timing. The Wright brothers' achievement came at a time when the U.S. was eager to showcase technological progress. Their story fit neatly into a nationalistic narrative of American innovation. However, aviation historians today recognize the complexity of early flight. Many inventors contributed pieces of the puzzle, from Whitehead's possible powered flights to Santos Dumont's public European demonstrations. The truth is that flight was a global effort, built on the work of many. The Wright brothers were pioneers, but not the only ones. So next time you hear the phrase, first to fly, remember, the skies have a rich history, full of invention, controversy, and incredible stories waiting to be told. Though history often highlights the Wright brothers, pioneers like Gustav Whitehead remind us that invention rarely happens in isolation. Whitehead's early experiments inspired other aviation enthusiasts and showed the possibilities of powered flight. Similarly, innovators like Alberto Santos Dumont in Brazil and the Voisin brothers in France pushed boundaries in Europe. They focused on public demonstrations and practical flight, helping aviation spread worldwide. Whitehead's legacy, though overshadowed, sparked debates that encourage us to look deeper at history and acknowledge forgotten heroes. This broader view celebrates the collective effort that led humanity into the skies. Learning about people like Whitehead teaches us that even if you aren't famous, your ideas can shape the future. Why revisit stories like this? Because history isn't just about dates and names, it's about understanding, progress, struggle, and innovation. In conclusion, while the Wright brothers hold a special place in history, They were part of a larger story. Flight was a collective achievement, built on the dreams and experiments of many, from Gustave Whitehead to Santos Dumont and beyond. The next time you see a plane soar overhead, remember the rich tapestry of innovators who made it possible. History isn't just what's written in textbooks, it's a living story, full of surprises, debates, and heroes both famous and forgotten. Thanks for joining this deep dive into aviation history. Don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating stories.